Okay.
Because at the end of it, what comes through is team spirit, collaboration, but what does not come across is the gig part of it.
Dominic, sorry, let me interrupt. Rosina can log in through the Facebook, no, on this now.
Yes, yes.
So where does she go? Collaborate?
Facebook collaborate. We have Facebook Live.
Facebook Live on collaborate. Collaborate.
She can call up Jervis and get the details, and we'll start off. And as you all can see, we've already warmed up with our panel. And let me introduce them to you. I'll start off with Farzana Behram, contractor. And there's so much behind the name, too much to compress in a few lines. Facets ranging from food and wine to travel and pets, photography, farming, interiors, and to just creating anything. Her work is her life, and she lives through the activities she pursues, the people she encounters, the places she visits, the tastes and flavors she experiences, and most importantly, the wondrous life she sees through the eyes of her pet Lasha Apsos. A woman in many hats is what defines her best. I'll tell you all about the Lasha Apsos a little later. My own experience with not hers, but another one.
If she were to butter the Lhasa Apso, it would be so much better.
Shut up.
Better butter. Better buttered Lhasa.
All right,
anyway,
all right.
so
Prahlad, when I see you.
Prahlad, yeah. So she's totally grounded, Prahlad, and believes in simple living, which you know. An exponent of the wabi-sabi philosophy. She also writes a column on it. She derives joy from little things and has the ability to see beauty in brokenness, which is why she will probably like Prahlad and me. Today she stands accomplished in very
She
ways.
loves Prahlad. What do you mean likes Prahlad and you? She loves
Adores.
A successful publisher, the adores was for me, Prahlad. Editor-in-chief, photographer of Upper Crust and Dogs and More, curator of India's first and finest food exhibition, the Upper Crust Food and Wine Show, and Dogs Affair, India's first pet event, a doggy carnival that captured the imagination of people. Pet parent to Inshi and Tasha, that's her Lasha Apso's names. She's a homemaker on the move with hectic schedules, both professional and personal, which she brings, which being part of the social world of Bombay demands of her. When she started off married to the reticent and renowned journalist and editor Behram Contractor, also known as Busy Bee, I loved reading his column, who she helped launch the city's much respected daily, The Afternoon Dispatch and Courier. She says she didn't possess an iota of knowledge, which is hard to believe, of the future and that lay ahead. But by Allah's grace, it has been fulfilling one, filled with opportunities to hone my skills, be it writing, shooting pictures, building homes, designing interiors, organizing events, even growing vegetables, and so much more. All this while I juggle time, imbibing the art of time management. To multitasking is no mean feat, but that's what life is all about. Shifting gears, and there's a long road ahead still. That's Farzana in first person. Prahlad Kakkar, chairman and founder, the Prahlad Kakkar School of Branding and Entrepreneurship, ad film director for Genesis Film Production and one of India's oldest and foremost ad film production house. Since its inception in 1977, Prahlad virtually invented a genre of television advertising in India in the years that followed. Prahlad has ruled the advertising world with his brand of irreverent humor, which you all will get an experience of, memorable brand building campaigns, and has created award-winning commercials for the most reputed corporate and agencies in India and the APAC region. After having assisted renowned filmmaker Shyam Benegal, he moved into advertising films to tell a story in 30 seconds in the most engaging way possible. Remains Prahlad's reason for his continued passion for ad filmmaking over 30 years. Known as the ad guru, he has been instrumental in changing the face of advertising in our country, bringing in the appropriate regional Indianness and values into an urban context. Through his films, creative workshop, articles, and interviews, he has helped create memorable campaigns for brands like Pepsi, Yehi Hai Right Choice Baby, Aha, Gold Spot, The Zing Thing, Maggie, 2 minutes, Britannia, Ting Ting Ting, Limca, Zorka Zatka, and Maggie sauces. It's different, just like Prahlad is. Today, Prahlad is consulting with companies to provide innovative solutions for promoting and brand building various products and services, creative workshops, motivational and leadership interactive sessions for the top and middle management executives and university students to deal with current issues and future challenges, specifically designed for every company needs. After years of planning to venture into education, Prahlad, along with his partners Pritesh Nair, Mitali Kakkar, who's his wife, Riya Rani, and Priya Menon, launched PKSBE in
Tell him to.
2016 to take their cumulative experience to the field of branding, marketing communication, education, logistics, corporate training, and to mentor, train, and groom young budding entrepreneurs and help them set up their businesses. So that's our eminent panel for today, Prahlad and Farzana. Thanks for being on the show. Welcome to it. And I'll open with asking Farzana to give us her take on what she feels the gig economy is, what it sets out to do, or how she looks at it. Farzana.
Okay, thank you, Dominic. It's a pleasure being on your webinar. Gig economy. It's a fairly new terminology in India, though we have been actually at it for years. But I don't think too many people even today, except in certain industries, even know what a gig worker is, or that what they're really doing is gig. So what is a gig worker and what is a gig? I mean, the people who are conversant with this term gig, once upon a time, or always conversant with it, would understand it to mean somebody performing a gig, a concert somewhere, which is a one-time kind of a band doing a show, or a one man playing a guitar, somebody is at a gig. And I think the term pretty much comes from there, except that now the horizon is widened and it just doesn't apply only to musicians and jazz players like in America. That's where it came. And basically the word gig also, I think, comes from the word engagement. So if you were in a gig, it meant you were in an engagement and that it was a one-time thing. So that's what it means. So applied to workers, it is now that the old-fashioned job which paid you every month is now on the ebb. It's going to fade out, looks like, from the way the world is going. And now people will be in temporary kind of jobs. And that's the term we Indians understand, temporary. Remember, we said temporary workers. So we could have taken them for 1-2 months. It's another thing that we are doing it entirely for different reasons. Like Prahlad was saying earlier, that it's not for, to save your various taxes or so to save whatever. So now the gig worker is going to be the person who is going to take up a job on a short-term basis or a long-term basis, and do whichever days of the week he feels like working, or whichever months he feels like working. In short, that's a gig worker. And I think the gig workers are predominantly now in the IT industry, in HR divisions, and all those kind of things internationally. In India, our gig workers would be your massage bhai coming home. It could be that plumber who's coming. It could be who, all those kind of things. So I think looking at the way the world is moving, and especially post-pandemic, gig workers, or the gig economy is the right term, is here to stay. I think people who are working and people who are engaging services, everybody is going to be happy with this style of working, because you don't pay somebody for a whole month. You pay them for that short-term project. You just pay them for whatever your need is. Your project will last long and last. I'm for it. I'm for it as of now. Okay, now we'll discuss the nitty-gritties later. I'm for it because I think we've all already been doing it, like long ago when we wanted more, let's say, graphic designers. We would take the best from somewhere and let them come in like twice a week and probably do it, especially when we were running the afternoon. We needed a lot more than we had. But it has to be talent which is recognized, not just anybody. So we were doing that. Having said this, there are benefits and there are going to be disqualifications. I guess we'll discuss that as we go on. But sure. Yes, gig working, gig economy, with the way the world is going, with the way things are trending, I think it's here to stay.
Prahlad, could you come in and tell us your take on the gig economy? And I'm sure in the ad world, you worked a lot with gig workers, also with your stint in hospitality. You're on mute, huh? You're on mute.
Prahlad, we can't hear you.
Yes, now?
Right,
yeah.
Go ahead.
See, I've worked with gig workers all the time in my film business, but very rarely in my hospitality business for two reasons. In the film business, the person running the show, the showrunner as we call it, is the director and his immediate team, which is semi-permanent, okay, which is about 3 or 4 people who work with him in terms of the detail. What you get in as gig workers are specialists. Is the cameraman, is the sound man, it's the equipment attendants,
Technical guys.
and yeah, most of the technicals, but they're all specialists in their own way. The editor at the end of it, the music director who puts music, they're all gig workers. Now, if you take that sample size and convert it into a restaurant, I'll tell you where I'm uncomfortable with it in a restaurant. A restaurant is known for its food, which means that it doesn't matter about the ambience so much. As long as your food is consistent and outstanding, you will always get clientele. Okay, because that's the most memorable thing about a place, a eating place, because it's supposed to be eating place. If you add ambience to it, air conditioning, uniforms, ownership, then it becomes a brand. When you want to create a brand, you can only have specialty people sometimes helping your chef. Your chef cannot change, and you cannot change chef because the whole food, what you call issues change, your taste change, the presentation changes, everything changes. So as long as your cook is permanent, as long as your philosophy is permanent, then what you do is you create a brand. And when you create a brand for a restaurant, then you can actually scale it. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, go ahead.
You can actually scale it. So
Okay.
scalability comes from building a solid brand so that there is, what is that noise?
No, she's getting a call, I think. For Farzana is getting a call, I think. But that shouldn't have come on ours because she's muted. Anyway, you carry on.
So what happens when you build a brand? You build the brand around the personalities who run a particular restaurant. And usually it's the chef. Now, when you're building a brand for a restaurant and a chef together, you allow the chef a lot of latitude to come and greet and meet the consumers and to get feedback from them. You know, because if it's a second-hand feedback from the manager or the Mitradi, okay, then there is always a loss in communication. It is always best to get feedback directly from a consumer for the chap who's cooking. So when the consumer says, I like more salt or I like less salt, then he knows exactly what he's talking about. And the next time around, when he remembers that that consumer's order is coming in, because he's peeping through and looking to see who are his regular clientele, he actually manages to tailor the food for them in his own way. Now, I'll tell you, this was done for me in a place like in the Oberoi, for instance. As you go to the Far Eastern restaurant, which is called, the name was based on a traveler. What was the name of that restaurant in the basement in the Oberoi?
You're on mute, Farzana.
What is the name of that restaurant, Farzana?
India Jones.
India Jones. Now, India Jones, when it was launched, had multiple cuisines, but all from the Far East. There was Thai, there was Chinese, there was a bit of Japanese, there was a lot of stuff. So you could choose what you wanted. But the beauty of it was that the chef who recognized me as a kindred soul managed to surprise me every time I went there pleasantly. Now, that's very rare. You can surprise people two ways, pleasantly or unpleasantly.
That's shock, actually.
Yes, so and that's what food is really all about, is that either you like it or you don't like it. And when you go there and not order off the menu and you leave it to the
So
chef,
it's a given. So it's a given. Can you hear me?
yeah, yes,
Yep.
That means, so it's a given that you cannot have your head chef who's a gig worker.
you cannot unless it's a pop-up.
I mean, that would be the sign of our. Anyway, Dominic, do you want to take it on? Sorry.
No,
So
listen,
what I
what
want
I'm
to-
saying is that unless you're a pop-up, if you specialize as a brand in pop-ups,
So
then
I'll
you
come
can
to
have
that.
anybody as a
Prahlad,
chef.
you're jumping the gun. One sec. I want to
Yeah.
come back to the chef. And in fact, on this count of chef, I want to bring Farzana in. See, Farzana, earlier we had chefs who are known by the brand they worked for, right? Even the Michelin stars are given as per the restaurant.
Restaurant.
Yeah, today's chefs are aspiring to be standalone celebrity chefs, and you've got so many kids on the block who want to be celebrity chefs. What would your advice? Now, let's not debate whether becoming a celebrity chef is a possibility. Not, I'd say, if you met me as a celebrity chef and I came to you and said, "Ma'am, can you advise me how to build myself up as a brand?" What would you tell me?
Well, first of all, you got to have major high level of credibility to you. You should have done
Okay.
enough work, like Prahlad said, to have established yourself really. Because you see, the meaning of celebrity is becoming very loose right now. Okay. So who is a celebrity chef? A celebrity chef really would not be somebody who's shown his face 10 times on the TV, but it'll be somebody who's actually built his persona as a chef over X number of years. So to a person like that, of that caliber, there's nothing you can say. Let's say an Ananda Solomon or, nothing. But yes, like you said, kids on the block today fancy themselves to be celebrity chefs. So them, I would advise, buddy, you better get, first established properly. You can't jump 5 restaurants and get your name just because your salary has been hiked up 5 times, some ridiculous amount. So that's not a real celebrity chef. And I'll tell you, the real ones who can really cook are the ones which are not in your face. They're working away very quietly, and people go to those kind of restaurants and enjoy their cooking. So my advice would be, don't concentrate on becoming a celebrity chef. Concentrate on creating a name for yourself. It should be word of mouth. It should be a brand that gets built automatically and very slowly over time. It can't just happen just like that. Okay. So for example, actually, you see, long ago, what happened is, chefs were in the back in the kitchen. Nobody even called for them. It started with, first, I think, in the Taj, when these chefs were called to the table and we clapped and all that. Then bit by bit, I think earlier we said, oh, ITC has the best chefs. We used to say that. Then it
Right.
became, no, Chef Qureshi of ITC.
Yes.
So slowly the
Yes.
chefs started getting the
Absolutely.
recognition and the whatever. And then honestly, it was like a graph. It was here, it went there, and now it's down, because in the sense that celebrities, chefs are like, there are a dime a dozen. And anybody who's just gone on to this TV thinks they're celebrity chefs. That's not celebrity chef. So I think they've got to
Okay.
just understand the
So
difference.
so I think I'll move to Prahlad and ask him the meaning of a brand and the must-have components. What
Good
do
idea.
you take as, how would I call myself a brand, and what are the components I have to have? And let's not talk only about the flash and dash. I mean, what is the ground reality of building a brand for myself as an individual?
When you start building a brand as a chef,
Not just the chef, Prahlad, anything.
no,
It
but
could be a
anything,
manager.
anything.
Yes.
Yeah. For instance, if you are a slovenly dresser and your hygiene is questionable, then you fail right at the first point of contact.
Okay.
Okay. So if you can hide behind the kitchen and never come out to your consumers, you can then be in a kacha banyan and you can be cooking and you can be turning out marvelous things. But if you're going to be a person and a brand, then you have to package yourself well. If your packaging is wrong, then the journey is far longer. Now, the
Prahlad,
yeah.
but there are two ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
You and I have ourselves eaten with this ganji banyan lungi wala chef.
Correct.
Which is a different
But
thing.
but she's saying he can't become a brand.
He's
Yeah.
not a brand.
No,
It's
I
just,
mean, okay.
for instance, Imtiaz, when he used to be in his kitchen, he used to throw everybody out. He used to cook, he used to do the ingredient masalas himself. He never even taught his recipes to his sons.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was the harbinger of the recipes. He was very possessive about them. And at one time, he was very fond of me for some reason. And he used to call me to feed me. It's like, kaisa laga, ye laga, wo laga. So one day he made a Rogan Josh for me at a wedding. And he said, cow. And I had the Rogan Josh. I've never had a Rogan Josh like that. And I sat with him and I said, बताएंगे मुझे कैसे किया आपने? So he said, नहीं मैं बताऊंगा नहीं, आप मुझे बताइए मैं हाँ या ना बोलूँगा. So I had to do the tasting and figure out what the hell he'd put in it on my palate.
Which is difficult.
Which is difficult, but
Impossible.
at the same time, if you cook yourself, you realize the mixture of elements that you put in.
Prahlad, 1 second. Come back.
Yeah.
You only gave me one tip so far on how to become a brand. So one is grooming and packaging.
Your packaging is very important as a chef. So whether it's ethnic, whether it's Western, whether it's you yourself, whether you wear a mund like a Kerala, what do you call it, people do, whether it's at half mast or whether it's full mast, it doesn't matter. The fact is that it is consistent.
Okay.
Okay, and it's appreciated and accepted by people, so that your persona has to match what your packaging is. So if your persona is antisocial, if you don't like people, and if you're not comfortable with people, you can be a great chef and you can hide behind the kitchen and you'll get away with it over a period of time. But people want to see a face of the person who's actually produced the food for them.
Anyway, so brand is important.
The brand is
Yes.
important.
So
especially
now I'm
today.
trying to get the point. So one is
Yeah.
grooming packaging, whether it's ethnic or whatever, then
Yeah.
consistent and
And
must be
then-
appreciated by your audience. Then
Yeah.
next.
Then you have little hearsays. You know, like my grandmother put into my head saying, "Never trust a scrawny chef." Okay. So whenever I see a nice portly chef, I said, "Sir, you look like a chef."
But
You
Prahlad,
are
this is
a chef.
like the traditional. This is like the traditional way. So
Yeah,
the
but-
traditional
So, but
jobs
one
were
sec,
like
one sec.
monthly.
No,
Now
no.
gig
So-
workers are.
Prahlad,
Everybody
but
has
y'all are
in
going
their
stuck
head.
into the chef. I think
Yeah.
because of both of you being foodies, y'all are getting
Yeah.
stuck into the chef. I am saying just
No,
build a
no,
brand.
in your head,
No,
you
so
are
so so so
imagining-
Dominic,
So what he's saying is physical appearance. The physical appearance should match what you are doing.
what
I'll give
what
the
you are
example.
imagining.
Dominic, I'll give the example. What he's trying to say is presentable, nice, charming. Let's take Chef Ranveer Brar.
Yes.
He's all this. So he's very appealing. So that's what he means. And Ranveer has built up, he's a celebrity
Huge
chef.
following.
He's
Yeah.
on TV, good following, good cook, genuine person, sincere about a lot of things. So that's what he's meaning. So
Absolutely.
not too many
Yeah.
who,
Yeah. Who can actually do that? Because it's a
Yeah.
natural thing. It either you have it or you don't have it. You
That's
can't
right.
Okay, so
force
now
anybody to.
taking off on this, you have it or you don't have it. So are you saying that a person to build up a brand needs to be authentic? Because
Of
today
course.
there is a
He has to
no,
be
I-
himself. He has to be
himself.
himself.
Yeah.
Because consistency is very important. And the only way he can be consistent is to be himself, is to answer to himself. So when he
and he
cooks,
should be knowledgeable. He
Yeah.
should be good at his job primarily. He has
no,
to have the
that
knowledge
that's
of
why it's a
food and-
given. Sit,
Yeah.
Fatana, take for instance, that's a given. That you are trained well, you're
But-
trained well as a chef.
No, not
But
necessarily,
Prahlad-
not necessarily, Prahlad, because today there are people who are building themselves up, using social
Correct.
media or different
Correct. Today
gadgets.
there are kids who just fancy themselves just because they've got 1 lakh followers
No,
or
no,
2
no.
lakh. So
At
you're
the
right,
end,
Dominic.
at
So
the end of the day, how do you monetize that? The real proof of the pudding is in the eating, to be very honest. And that's an absolute thing. So how do you monetize your celebrity status? And that's where the Me Too's fall by the wayside and the actual, celebrities come to the fore. And the Me Too's are that if a chef shifts restaurants, how much of the clientele will follow him?
The loyalist.
That is
Yeah.
loyalty.
Okay, so I'm requesting both of you not to stick only to talking about chefs. Let's talk
Yeah.
about generally,
So you
how to
please,
build a
you
brand as
please-
an individual. Because
Why-
y'all are.
why don't you steer the conversation towards the gig?
Yeah. So now let's say again coming back to it that I want you all to speak a bit about being authentic because when I look at both of y'all, I mean y'all have been there for years, right? And y'all have not only lasted, I mean y'all are still relevant. So give us some
Thank you,
tips
thank
on.
you.
So give us some. Yeah, no, seriously,
Thank you
because
so
you see, when I told people that I was getting you all
So
on the show,
wrong.
they were so impressed, and so was I. I mean, I was so happy that you all were coming on the show. So give us some tips on branding yourself in the authentic way, not just in the social media or in the
Yeah.
on the cloud.
No, the
So
proof
what
of the
what
pudding
are
is in the eating.
So
The
give me
proof of
some
the pudding
tips
is the
like,
food.
not just food. No, again you got back to food, Prahlad. You're
Yeah.
an ad film director, so tell us something about some story about an authentic person who made it, or
Like I'll give you another example of this guy. Okay. You know him? Chef Pratik Sandhu.
okay.
Okay. He's the chef and proprietor of the restaurant called Mask. Now there'll be a very small and limited kind of followers that go to Mask because it's so different. Okay. Small menu. In fact, half the time it's just created by them. They're fixed depending on what they have. Now he's built a wonderful brand for himself with his knowledge. He goes
Mhm.
trekking in the Himalayas and here and there, picking out very rare and unusual ingredients. He then uses them in an international Indianized way. His restaurant has got a unique identity of its own. very stark, very nice, very beautiful. You could be anywhere in the world. You could be in Frisco, you could be in New York, you could be in London, you could be anywhere. And yet you step out of this restaurant called Mask, and it's our garage wala outside there and something else somewhere in Lower Parel, okay, where the restaurant is. So you've got this person through dedication and hard work, his innate talent, his zeal, his passion, and his overall ability to be able to hold people together with his charming, sweet, genuine, nice self. He's created an amazing brand.
And his food. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Because he could be anything, but
So that's
the
what I'm saying.
product
It's
that
the
he
food.
represents. So
And he's
for
got
instance,
now something called the lab. where he
Farjana, now,
experiments.
would you say that I am a brand?
Of course.
Okay. Now, I'm not a nice person to work with, to be very
Yeah,
honest, because
you kick butt.
no, not only do I kick butt, but I call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Okay.
when people are getting in the way, I tell them, you're getting in the way, please step aside. Okay. Whether they're clients, whether they're agency, whether they're
Yeah.
whoever. So the point is that over a period of time, only the hardcore loyalists used to come back to me and say, whatever he does with a great degree of commitment and passion and takes responsibility for it. Because he doesn't allow anybody else to interfere. And therefore, he will not share the credit, and therefore he takes the responsibility. So if it's a
Anyway,
turkey,
so coming back to what you said, Dominic,
yes,
this is one example. And he will work doubly hard because he's a chef and an owner chef, you know.
yes.
So there are all these components mixed together in a nice salad bowl gives you what Mask is all about today.
Correct.
Now, so there are not that many people like him who are doing that kind of a job, but there are, and there'll be more.
No,
because
but
the whole trend is changing.
that quality is what necessary. That attention to detail, that uncompromising ability to be able to turn around and cut through the shit and get to the core, and then not being nice about it.
Absolutely.
See, let me ask you all both, because both of you all are pretty in your face, and Prahlad said something about, calling a spade. And I think he was referring to maybe telling client where to step off, right?
Yes.
Right. Now, Farjana, Prahlad, when you do call a spade with a client, I've done it, and you lose client, right? Have you had second thoughts that maybe I should have been a bit softer, or maybe I should have given in? And
No, not I.
what would your advice be to people who are, starting off their career, say 0 to 10 years?
No.
Should they
Like
bow
it's
down?
what Prahlad said earlier. What Prahlad
Dominic.
said earlier,
Yeah.
be yourself. I always say that. Stick to your nature, be yourself, be who you are. And if you're already an innately honest person with a high level of integrity, nobody will leave you and go away for whatever reason. They'll come back. Even if you're like, what Prahlad is saying is that he can be abrasive to a point of being honest and blunt. So
Correct.
be it. So be it. We know Prahlad, what he is. And in the end, you'll be better off than with a person like Prahlad and myself, rather than somebody who's a hypocritical person who sweet talks you into all sorts of things but delivers nothing.
Okay, so let me flip it this way. Let's say, Prahlad, can you take us back in time where you were upfront with a client because of what you stood for? You lost the client, and they came back a couple of years later. Do you have an incident like that?
Always. Always.
We too.
They leave, they wander around the country, they try out everybody else, especially people with a reputation, and then they come back very, not humbly,
Tail
but
between their-
they pretend that, okay, now we are giving you a second chance. So they
Uh-oh.
pretend that they're giving me a second chance. Actually, I'm giving them a second chance.
Yeah,
More
more like it.
And that's a time when I don't rub it in. And I say, okay, we'll try it out.
So
But
there are
I
nice
get-
sides to
Thank you
you.
for the second.
Yeah.
Thank you for the second chance.
I'll tell you
Tell
what is important in terms of see, when I said you take responsibility for the job, you take complete responsibility. And when you tell a client, let me do it my way, if you don't like it, don't pay for it. Then he's absolved of any degree of commitment financially or ownership.
You're putting your money where your mouth is.
Money where your mouth is. So how many people today are willing to do that? Very few. I keep telling the kids on the block, before you go around the block, before you ask for latitude to be able to do it your way rather than the agency way or the client way, especially when you don't agree with it, you shoot the bloody film twice. It doesn't matter what it costs you. You shoot your way and you shoot their way. And you tell them, this is your way, it looks like 30, and this is my way, and it's looking okay.
You know, if I have to
You know-
button on this, we've had our cases also. For
Hmm.
example, there was one proprietor chef who was very keen to be on our cover, on Upper Crust cover. And I just didn't think he was worthy. He was just loaded, huge investor money and that kind of stuff. He was loaded. But I didn't think his restaurants were that great. They were hyped up and everything else. We didn't put him on the cover. We lost all the advertising. I don't care a damn. So that's it.
Hmm. So now, taking off on this only, let me ask her again, flip the question into a different dimension. See, there's always space for learning, and obviously both of you are learners. I mean, there is no doubt about it.
Yeah,
So
always.
have you had an incident where you say the client made a call, you shot down the call, and then in retrospect realize, okay, the client call was better, and you go with it? It could be in your younger days. It could be probably when you are veterans.
Your voice is going, your voice is fading.
Dominic,
What did you
Dominic, I'll tell you something. When you are open to suggestion and learning, which is on a film or on a restaurant or whatever else, which is a service industry, which is creative. When you are in the part of a creative industry and you are working in a team, every team member, regardless of whether he's a driver or whether he's a peon, has the right to turn on and tell you, why can't we do it this way? It sounds more logical and better.
Okay.
And if you actually hear him out, you'll find that they come up with lots of ideas. So what we did was, in my office, we created a democratic space for ideating. And that was around the kitchen. So what we did was we took a 600 square foot office and made a 300 square foot kitchen. Okay?
Oh yeah, at Tardev.
At Tardev. And everybody cooked. And everybody sat around and ate. And the kitchen was the democratic space. Anybody could give any ideas, could give any suggestions at any time, and there was no hierarchy.
That
There
was
was
a great
complete-
place because I shot
Yeah.
you over there and I interviewed
Yes.
you. Remember,
Correct,
it was great
correct,
fun.
correct.
And
Yeah.
in his office, I'll tell you how democratic it is. An executive might even pick up the broom and start sweeping the floor.
Correct. They used to.
Oh, so okay, so that's very interesting because at HTI we have the same system where we cook on different days, and meaning different people cook on different days, and we clean the office ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Farzana, the question you didn't hear because my
Yeah.
network probably faded was,
Yeah.
I said, you know, when you're standing up to people, there could be a possibility that your ego gets to you and you sometimes shoot down a good idea. At the same time, you're obviously a learner. So have you faced situations where, you know, you took an
sure.
idea, shot down an idea, and then
Not
you
only
realize you
that,
had made-
Dominic, I would go one step further. If I felt I'm in the wrong, and however down the line the employee or the client or whatever would be, I would even say sorry. So I have no such issues because I mean, and you know my background with Afternoon and with
Very
working with
true.
somebody like Baram Contractor. So there's never been any ego, and we've been always so open to everything. And if you don't do that, then you will not have a good office and a good setup. So you have to bow down. You have to say sorry. You have to listen to him, like Prahlad said. That's the only way. But I don't know what's going to happen now, coming back in your context. In your context of collaborate, and in
So
your
I want to
context
bring
of
that.
gig
I want to
workers,
bring that context here right
please
now.
bring.
See, there is some because I deal with a lot of students. I deal with a lot of big timers also. There is this thing of enhanced ego where they feel, for example, they have to be less approachable. They have to be, you know, at a distance from people. Probably ignore calls. Are you saying that if you want to build a brand for yourself, you have to be approachable? You have to be open to taking calls? Is there a line you draw?
I think I would contradict you because I think what you said, this kind of pompous, egoistical
Yes.
manager, head, MD, was all in the 70s, 80s.
No, you
No,
still
no,
have
they
it.
still exist. They still
Now
exist.
I feel
They
people,
still
see the
exist,
people
but-
I deal with, the
but
young
they
people
don't-
who come,
but-
they're so easy and approachable
Yeah.
and nice. And
Maybe to
Farzana,
you.
They do not
What,
exist.
you're talking about
They
me?
do not
Yeah,
exist. in
no,
your
maybe
space.
to you.
They do not exist in your space, and they do not exist in a competitive space with me, because all my competition is extremely easy to get along with because they have to be approachable. But when I look at a client sometimes, then the big boss who's unapproachable is sitting there in his throne, completely cut off from the rest of the world, and thinks he's playing God. You know, so the people in his office actually refer to him as God. God has said, so it must be true. You know, kind of thing. So that is
Okay.
a time when you turn around and say, let's take his studies off.
So is
And
that
it
your
doesn't
ego
matter
showing?
what it costs you, because it's so much fun, and it's such a great experience to take a pompous ass's what do you call air out of his airbag, that he might
A
turn on
pompous
his black.
ass's ass.
Yes, he will blackball you for a little while, but all his employees who work under him, when they leave to other companies, will call you back and turn around and say, "Hey, listen, I want that guy to do it." And I'll give you an example. Today, there's a young filmmaker called Amit Sharma, who comes from a very humble middle class background. And you would look at him and say, "Yaar, ye brand kaise banega? Ye to अंग्रेजी भी ठीक से नहीं जानता." You know. So the thing is that अगर अंग्रेजी ठीक से नहीं जानता, तो that doesn't matter if you want to make a brand for yourself, because your work counts. And he has done the most amazing work that I have ever seen as a block. And I knew that he'd make a great film. And finally, he made a film, and it was Badai Ho, which has so many little small town insights, which has so many behavioral impacts, which is so funny and real and bittersweet, in its entire thing. That is what his ad films are like. He made the Google film where the two friends, one is sitting in Delhi, one is sitting in Lahore, and Google gets them together on this guy's 70th birthday. You remember that Google film? Then recently for Facebook, he's made a film called Pooja Didi, about the lockdown and how people are losing their jobs. And this one chick who actually, in a small little halwai ki dukan, has everybody who's lost their job. And a brother is telling her, "What's wrong with you? We're not a charitable institute. We also have to live. We also have to make money." And she says, "Don't worry. Everything will be all right. Just let's look after our people."
Okay,
And
so
that-
Prahlad, one sec. Just so that I don't lose this thread. You said something about a person not being able to speak English, speaking Hindi. Now, in hospitality, there is a lot of this where, the people feel they're less than another because they don't speak English, right?
I think if they're good at their jobs, they don't have to worry about what language they speak.
Farzana?
Imtiaz Qureshi couldn't speak a word of English.
No,
Okay,
but
he
you
was
would
a
probably
star.
mean in the service side. Dominic would probably mean in the service side, not the
Yeah.
backroom guys.
Not the chef.
So it'll depend on what kind of an establishment it is. If it is a fancy restaurant, then the employers would make sure that you're taking people predominantly who would be able to speak English or whatever. But it should not be an hindrance. For example, if the waiter would speak in chaste Urdu,
Yes.
and if somebody understood, then it'll be fine. So it's the
Okay.
confidence level of the person.
Correct.
Confidence.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which would
Acha,
come
now-
from your knowledge of the work.
No, like for
Uh,
instance,
So how
we
you
are going
are,
to be
how
opening-
good you are at your job.
like for instance, if I had to start a 5-star restaurant in, say, Lucknow, okay, my lobby manager, who comes constantly in touch with our customers, has to be a poet in Urdu. I don't care a shit if he doesn't speak Hindi, as long as he puts everything beautifully in Urdu. And
So
Urdu
like I
is
said,
such
it
a-
depends. It differs
Yes.
from establishment to establishment what it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
And believe me, it would become unique because my brand would be enhanced by the fact that my lobby manager, who is constantly in touch with all the clients, is an Urdu poet.
Okay,
It
so
could
now
become the USP.
Yes.
coming to the, I'm breaking this here, coming to another aspect, and then after this question, I'll be opening it out to the audience. Audience, if you'll have a question, you can type it in the Q&A box, which I can see already has some. You could also alternatively raise your hand and we will unmute you and you could ask the panel directly. Yeah. So now the question to you all, or the way I'm putting it, see, I started off as a gig worker, right? I had a name of a company, etc. But basically I was doing gigs. And then I slowly built up into an actually, having a team below me, etc.
A training ground,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. So would you say, like, let's say, for example, I have a specialist, a lady who is very good at hosting people. So she's a hostess in a restaurant. She gets a good name for herself. Later on, as a gig worker, people call her up and she says, listen, I'm busy today, but I have trained so-and-so, and I could send that person over.
Correct.
And naturally, she takes a cut from whatever she has done for the training, etc. And slowly she builds up more hostesses under her, and she gets known as the go-to person for hostesses.
Correct.
You could have a person for waiters, which is very common in the banquet space. You could even have a space for let's say, a Rumali roti maker, or even a tandoori roti, or your Imtiaz type of
specialized.
Tandoor
Correct.
specialist, yeah.
Correct. So if you were to advise a standalone person listening in, I want both of you all to take separate takes on it. What would you tell them to how could they build themselves up from a standalone gigger into an organization, making that transition from standalone gigger to an organization?
See, can I take this first, Dominic?
Sure, sure.
See, our entire office worked on one basic principle. You weren't a manager. We completely obsoleted the word manager. Everybody who was senior was a mentor to the juniors. Okay.
Okay.
So when you mentor people, they belong to you for life because you are actually partnering them. You're not teaching them with a stick. Nahi, ye mere jaise karo, tum apni jaise mat karo. You know, that kind of thing. It's a together process. You learn from them, they learn from you. Okay. The mentor usually learns much more than the mentee does in a mentor-mentee relationship. Okay. But you build around you an entire resource field. So because I've trained so many young directors, so many young producers, I don't have a problem of picking up a phone and saying, hey, listen, are you guys free? I need somebody to do the job for me. You know,
Okay.
I have 150 directors on call who I trust with my life. I have 100 producers who I can trust with my life. I have 100 spot boys who I can trust with my life. Now, how many people can say, how many non-mentors can actually make this claim that you can trust your life with your mentees? I can.
No, so taking it on, Dominic, to answer your question more directly, Prahlad has given his personal, take on this and what he's done. But to answer this question more directly, how would a gig worker gain if he mentored a whole lot of people? Of course he would, because
no, how would he make the
transition
to? How would he make the transition to becoming an organization? Say
yes. So if he changed his individual status into an organization one, it
into
would be
a mentor.
fantastic.
Into a mentor.
Yeah. No. The mentor would be the gig worker.
Correct.
So the gig worker then goes ahead and identifies, let's say, 10 people he could teach the job of, let's say, bartendering.
Very true.
Okay, and suppose this person is extremely good at it, at his job, and he's trained all these people very well. In fact, it'll be a plus for that person for the simple reason that the way the world is heading towards now, we all need specialists. So if I know that this, what's her name, that Shadbi Basu, let's take her example. I know if she's coming from Shadbi Basu's school, this bartender, I would shut my eyes and just hire him, even if I couldn't get Shadbi. So of course, in fact, that'll be the next level of gig workers, that they will all now start creating little schools of, little offices of, little, whatever they are adept at and good at.
It's like aggregating. It's like being an Uber in any business.
Exactly. If
you can't handle the business because your plate is full, you pull in all the people who you have mentored with or
mentored. In our hospitality business and the food and beverage business, the standard will have to be exemplary. The standard will have to be very good. Only then will there be word of mouth.
No,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So it will be a good thing.
Okay, so out here, of course, there would be certain tips which I'm not mentioning. That is, for example, let's say I send a person, right? And I'm a tandoori chef. I send one of my tandoori boys and they're unhappy with the service. At that time, I guess I would have to not charge them for it. Like Prahlad said,
absolutely.
You make a...
Absolutely.
So that mindset would need to be incorporated.
Better for the long
run. But that mindset would have to be incorporated in them, like
Correct.
Thinking like an entrepreneur. Not thinking that, now I have to pay from my pocket $500 or 1,000 or whatever he's lost.
Yeah. And these are going to be the challenges of gig workers, because they'll have to change their mindset to being a gig mindset. You see, so in the long run, if they understand being an entrepreneur means, okay, in the short term, I'm going to lose some money, but in the long term,
Correct.
I will gain the confidence.
From an employee to a gig mindset.
Dominic, I'll give you an example. One example which actually changed the mindset of your so-called gig worker, which was my staff in my kitchen. They were used to taking shortcuts. Farzana, you hung.
Oh.
No, now she's okay.
What has happened to you?
No, you're okay now.
You're okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had this kitchen staff that were thinking that they were too smart and they knew more than I did. And they were taking shortcuts with, especially with the fish curries. Okay. And we had a specialty in Prithvi Cafe at that time, which was prawn balchao stuffed pomfret.
Okay.
Now, it was best when it was baked, but it took time and effort. So they borrowed a shortcut and started frying the damn pomfret, which took much faster and it would come. And the customer actually didn't feel the difference. But I went into the kitchen and I saw what they were doing. And I took the entire batch of food and I threw it into the dustbin. And they were shocked.
Oops.
Oops.
They
I agree.
were stunned. And they said, साहब किसी को दे देते आप किसी भिखारी को दे देते आपने फेंका क्यों? मैंने कहा क्योंकि तुम लोग मेरा नाम खराब कर रहे हो.
Brand.
या तो you keep the standard or you bugger off. नहीं तो मैं सब में कचरे के डब्बे में फेंक दूंगा. It never happened again. I didn't have to ever throw food away again. I had to do it once.
Okay, so now I'm opening the floor to the questions because we've got quite a few questions, some comments also. And the first one I'm going to take up is, hi, how do I build up my brand as a hospitality trainer? Would it be different from regular branding or are there certain different aspects I should focus on? So building a brand as a hospitality trainer, is it regular branding or is there some aspect they would have to throw in?
See, Dominic, hospitality is very wide. It has many, many verticals in it. So they must specify what aspect of the training or brand building that they're doing. Is it in housekeeping? Is it in fronting a restaurant? Is it a maitradi? Is it the back end? It is the front end? What are they? What aspect or what? Or is it everything?
Okay.
Is it back end and front end?
So how would they build the brand as a hospitality trainer?
If they were to, first they would have to be exemplary themselves, and they
Perfect.
would have to be a brand themselves. Once they became
Exactly.
halfway down to a brand
As an individual,
then they would start a mentorship program for other people and recommend them because their reputation depended on their mentees. Not the mentee didn't care a shit because he didn't have a name.
And again, it's Dominic, everything, and it's always about the standard. They have to make sure that what they are, the output that is going to come out will be of a very high standard. It's such a
so it's
simple
no
thing.
different. It's no different from building a
No.
brand anyway.
It's no different from anything.
In fact, they'll have to be on their guard. Let's say if it's front end in the hospitality, then they'll have to be on their guard because then the standard is even higher than, let's say, if this person was just working in any corporate house. So hospitality is all about, appearance, how it is. The standard would be far higher.
Okay. Now, can we have some examples? The next question. Can we have some examples from film industry of gig workers, comedians, actors, villains, etc.? How they get their work? How do these people get their work? How they keep themselves updated in demand, for example, Anu Kapoor, and draw a comparison across industry. This is from Sachin Chauhan. So he's saying, how do gig workers in your field, we can take even in publication actually, Behram.
No, I think it's different. But publication would be very different from this thing. Publication, for example, would be, let's say now journalists, if they want to be gig workers. And if I take freelancers, the term is obviously freelancers. So if we have to take them, then it would have to be very, very high, like upper crust, and even after the standard of writing and everything else, we would have to make sure it was the highest caliber that I could get. Somebody whose grammar is right, language is right, text is right, they can interview well. So, they should have the knowledge of whatever they should. So it'll be very, very different.
Okay, so one question, 1 second. Let's say, for example, I offer to write for you and my writing is pathetic. You anyway?
No way. I won't even meet you.
No, you wouldn't
because
carry it. But
you ask people to send in their stuff online first, right?
Correct.
So when I see that and I can read 4 lines and know what kind of a writer you are. In fact, we do get a lot, of writers. For example, there are a lot of chefs today, because they cook so well and they know ingredients, they want to do columns. They want to do columns, but they can't. They're damn good in the kitchen, but they're not good with words. So if I'm going to take that person's name and rehash it and re-edit it and rewrite it completely, that's not fun. No, it's cheating. So I don't like to cheat in any way. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Prahlad,
and
how do people get gig work in your line of
see, in our
industry?
line
How
of
do they?
work, we constantly auditioning people for talent. Whether it's young women, whether it's young men, whether it's comedians, and we actually audition them for specific roles depending on what characters they're playing in either OTT programs or in advertising or in even features or in documentaries for that matter. Okay, so we every director in his mind has a kind of a vision of what the guy should look like and how he should perform. So his team goes looking for those kind of people. Now what happens is if he delivers more than what is expected of him, then he is noticed by a hell of a lot of people who see the film. And they make a note of it. And I get lots of calls all the time, especially when I'm got fresh talent in my films, where I get saying, who's that girl? Who's that guy? Who's that comedian? Who's that face? Who's
So
that
what you are
face?
saying is, when they get a chance, they have to shine. They have to do more
Yes.
than
Then
they
what is asked
promised.
of them? Correct. Correct.
Okay.
They have to do a lot
Do
of homework.
more than what you are paid to do. I
And
think
they
that
have a
is.
lot of they have an inner talent. They have to have the talent to be able to deliver. So in my profession, the talent is sometimes honed, sometimes not honed, sometimes is wild because nobody's ever trained them. But you have to be able to pick that out. You have to pick out the fact that this kid has talent even though he's undisciplined and he's all over the place. And then focus him, bring him down to focus, and then he becomes a mentee to you. And then when people call you up and say, can you recommend anybody, which they do all the time to
So
us.
Prahlad is totally into mentorship, right?
Yes.
Now, this one's to Miss Contractor. Would you give the younger generation some tips on how to get going with their jobs, as there's a lot of uncertainty and competition everywhere? Specifically
As a
addressed to
gig
you.
worker. We are talking about as a gig worker.
No, it's come as a general thing, but you could
general,
even address it. Yeah.
General, yeah.
Could you give the
How do
general
you,
on how
there's
to
a lot
get
of
with
uncertainty. What's the question?
Yeah, see, younger generation tips on how to get going with their jobs. That means, get started with their jobs. There's a lot of uncertainty and competition everywhere. So what I gather is that because of the shortage of employment opportunities, how should a fresher approach this? I think it's because of your introduction where, you started off with, like you said, not an iota of knowledge. So
I was
probably
just
how
going to
did
come
you?
back to the same thing. First of all, are you sure that you're focused in your core and seeing what you are good at? First of all, in today's world, I find the kids don't know what they want to do. Like in our time, you ask a 5-year-old little boy and he'll say, I want to be a doctor one day. So what I'm saying is today they might be 18 and 20 and 22 and they are rudderless. No direction. They don't know where they're going. So first of all, you've got to identify what is it that you want to do in life. And frankly speaking, this is going to become increasingly difficult because now, your goal is not going to be that I want to work in Hindustan Levers or I want to work in HD or whichever ad agency, I want to work with Genesis, whoever. Our time, it was a goal. Today, the kids have to first zero in. And since they hardly take advice from their parents and it's much more peer group going on, I don't know what to tell them. So I'd like to tell them that zero in, see what you are all about, see what you want to do, see where you want to go, not give me an answer like, what do you want in life? Oh, I want to make money. It doesn't work like that.
And doesn't work.
Money
Absolutely.
is incidental. It comes.
Money is a
So
side,
zero in,
side,
see what your
side
talents
product,
are, see where your abilities are, see what your learning is, see what, have you trained? Because so many things, Dominic, are now going to become irrelevant. Like today, I mean, the degrees that people have become redundant
Totally,
5 years
totally.
because the world has moved ahead so
No, it
fast.
becomes
true.
redundant in
over.
6 months. In 6
Yeah,
months
yeah.
of them
So,
taking up a job,
look at
you
the
know
new
exactly
job
how much he
openings.
knows. Yeah.
I mean, that Bitcoin stuff, I don't even know what the hell that is. But,
Yeah.
people are now into all this robotics and I don't know what all, artificial intelligence. So if you are 18 or 20 today, understand what
Where
is
you want to go.
happening around. Forget competition. Because if you are good at what you are, you will land that job. And I'll still advise get a 30-day job rather than getting jobs as gig workers. So,
No. So what I'm saying
Okay,
is,
so Prahlad, there's one
Dominic, I'll
question
tell
for
you
you.
something.
No.
Let me give you an example
Yeah,
of this.
yeah. Okay.
The most important thing about a job is, you join a company. First, you choose the company that you join. You don't just take the first job that is available. Okay. You have to be a little picky. You have to join a company where the manager responsibility is flat. Means that
Okay.
as a trainee, you are not that far away from management capabilities.
No, Prahlad. No, Prahlad. I don't know what you're saying.
No,
I
no.
don't agree.
Hello.
Prahlad, there is competition. There is
Fardana,
no
sorry.
jobs. How can you be picky?
Fardana, you have a choice. What is the first?
Huh.
What is the first choice of a job today? Is Google. Why is Google the most choice word for the company when other than self-employment? Okay, because it's flat. There's no guy sitting over your shoulder and telling you what to do. You are given a job, you're given a time scale, you're given a quality, and you have to match it. And if you don't deliver,
Then
you're
you might
out.
as well become a gig worker.
No, but that's what. Why do you think people work in Google? Have you ever talked to anybody working in Google? They'll tell you that they own the job. It's ownership which is more important than whatever else there is. If you can encourage.
But then you're narrowing down, Prahlad.
To
then
just
you're
one
narrowing
company.
down the
No.
job market even
I'm
more.
narrowing down to an example
Narrowing down to the
of how
poor
a
person
company
who's
operates.
already under pressure.
Which I'm narrowing
See,
down to how.
Prahlad, you're advising the people who run the companies.
No. I'm advising kids to take a risk. The risk is that you take your job as your job. It belongs to you. And you take a call on it. Usually what people do is when there's a decision to be made, they kick it upstairs because they don't want to be responsible for the decision.
Very true. I agree with that.
If a kid,
and they're worried they'll lose their job.
They'll lose their job. Is willing to take a decision and stand by it, even if he loses his job, he will go very far. Trust me. I'll give you an example. In my restaurant in Prithvi, we used to make the best souffle omelets in Bombay. Okay? And a souffle omelet is where you have to turn the omelet while it's still running. So it doesn't break.
Flip it.
No, not flip it. Turn it so that it actually folds and the center is still running. You fold the omelette into itself, so it becomes an omelette. It's
Like
a
a
thick
semicircle.
omelette. Yeah. Okay. Now, I've trained a young Malayali boy called Raja, who actually worked with me, and he became excellent at it. Now he was just an assistant guy there. He was a good guy. He was very responsible. But he decided he owned the station for the omelettes. So one day there was a huge rush and I said, let me help you. So I took up the station next to him and started making omelettes. And I took my eye off the ball for a moment and one of the omelettes got a slight brown patch on it. So when I folded it under the plate. Now he was looking at it and I didn't realize that he was looking at it. And I told the table number 4, your omelette is ready, come pick it up. And after 10 minutes, they came and said, we can't find the omelette. So there was a huge search for the omelette. Everybody looking at the omelette, shouting and screaming and saying, where's the omelette? Where's the omelette? And then he whispers to me, sir, phek diya. I go, what?
I thought so.
Tune phek diya? So he threw my omelette away. He said, हाँ साहब. He said, क्यों फेंक दिया? So he said,
You did it.
मेरा नाम खराब हो जाता.
Don't screw his name.
So I was in a dilemma. I said, should I sack this impertinent young fellow or should I promote him? Next day, I made him manager. Okay, because I realized that he owned the job.
So when they take ownership, but there was a risk.
Yes.
Should you sack him was also on the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you guys very fast questions which I want in, let's say, 1 line or 2 lines because we're running out of time. Okay, so I'm giving a long question here to Prahlad because it's flashing on the screen. How did you market yourself, Prahlad? I think this is going to the fact that, you have this beard, you have your ponytail, you had your cigar, you had your wine glass, you had your women. So how have you marketed yourself and did you consciously do it or did it happen at a subconscious level? And here I'm going to ask you to be very honest. Did you create this persona or did it just happen?
I'm always honest about this. You just took the criteria in the wrong order. It was the women first, then whatever else there was. Okay. So everybody, all my peer people were extremely envious of me because they said, why is he always surrounded by good-looking women? Okay. And that was because I enjoyed it. They felt safe with me. Okay. And they knew that I
felt safe with you?
They knew that I wouldn't push the ticket. I mean, whatever did happen or would happen was completely mutual.
Okay, no. So my question to you is, Prahlad, was it a conscious way that you branded
No,
yourself as this
no,
person,
no.
or it had just happened?
I was who I was, and the persona came through consistently and honestly over the last 30, 40 years. Nothing has changed as far as I'm concerned. My appetite for life, my appetite for good cooking, my appetite for beautiful women, my appetite for great work, and not only my own work, because the best work that I like so far is the work that I would have liked to have done, and it belongs to other people. But I give them full, complete credit, and my compliment to them is, I wish I had done that. Because and that's how I've always been. And that is exactly because I was so brutal with myself, I could be brutal with the world, as far as work was concerned. So that's how it all happened, frankly. I mean, everything else was just an add-on. Yeah, the ponytail was just because my hair was, long, and in summer it became a pain in the ass, so I just tied it up. Just like women do, I mean, tie up their hair during summer. It's not because it's a style statement. It's just because it's comfortable. And whatever I wore, I always wore things that were comfortable. Always wore things that I liked. I didn't care a shit what the fashion statement was. And today I wear a mundu to every formal occasion that I go to.
I've seen you.
Yeah, because it's a formal form of dress, and everybody accepts it, except my stupid Otters Club, where they say it's a lungi. Tell them it's not a lungi, it's a mundu.
Okay, this one's for Farzana now. Hard work or smart work? Which?
Hard.
Hard.
Hard work.
Both,
Hard work.
actually.
Because
Both.
hard work,
No shortcut.
comes up. No, hard work, smart, it all comes in. If you're smart, you might try to find ways and means of how to avert and avoid, and you be very super smart. No, just work hard, work simply, be yourself, just carry on, find a good balance in your mind and your heart and your soul. Honest. Honesty is the number one criteria.
Is the bottom line.
Yeah, you work hard with great honesty and everything else, with yourself, above anybody else, above anything else. Be honest above all to your own self, and dedicate yourself to a cause, and you're fine. Integrity, it all amounts to integrity. But I'm glad you didn't ask me that question about branding and marketing, because I definitely don't believe in branding and marketing yourself. Your product should speak for itself, and taking this question into account, that hard work is important.
And your body of work, which is what talks for you.
Which is what she said. Which is what Farzana is also saying, that your work should speak for itself.
Because if your work speaks, then you can do whatever you want. You can dress however outlandishly, you can behave however and
then you become a brand, and not that you want to be a brand.
Not because you want to be a brand, because that's the way you are.
Exactly.
But then, today the whole thing is, I mean, I'm going to be pushing this a bit here, but today the whole thing is about how you market yourself, how you present yourself, whether it is even a phone like an Apple, right? It's a decent piece of engineering, but look at the way they package themselves, look at the way they market themselves. So
no, that you have to. You're talking about product branding is very different from branding yourself to promote your product. Product branding, of course, you have to. Like Upper Crust stands for a certain something, and I will never allow anything to hamper that or dampen that. But if I have to go for every party, every launch, or every wine thing that comes into the market, I say, to hell with it, I'm not going. You know what I mean? So I don't. Yeah, absolutely. And Dominic, you'll be very happy to know, I think I've been a gig worker for the last 20 years.
There was a question, in fact,
I work from anywhere. I work from Panchgani. All I need is my laptop to write. Correct. So you see, I have been doing my balancing act very, very nicely. Yeah.
Okay. So
you
now
got a gig worker.
So a signing out statement from both Farzana and Prahlad, whoever would like to go first. What I'd like you all to talk to the audience is, let's say you were 20 something. I'm going to be taking you all back in time, maybe about 5 years earlier. In case of Farzana, about 100 years earlier. In case of
200
Prahlad.
Years. 200 years earlier.
Yeah, Prahlad take it 1,000 years ago.
No,
you would be the student lord.
So just go into a time machine. Imagine you're 20 years old. You're starting off your life. You want to hit the gig scene. What is your advice to them?
I'm sorry, Dominic. The thing is that you got my age completely wrong. I'll be 18 till I die, and you
Hey, you guys feel that from me. I'm 18.
I'm 18 till I die, and you're quoting me as 2 years
Baba,
too.
Prahlad, he was talking mental age.
And I'm talking about mental age. I'm 14 or 15 or 6 or 7.
No,
whatever else
you're,
it
you're
was.
plus
You're a
14.
toddler.
He's definitely post-puberty.
But
I'm
let's say, look,
innocent.
Dominic, if I was
I
18,
have the, I
if
have
I
the
was
privilege.
Okay, one
18
sec,
today,
Prahlad. Prahlad, we'll cover the call after this, but
Yes.
let's
okay,
take Farzana.
Dominic, quickly, if I was
Yes.
18 today, I know what I would do. I would go to France. I would look out for a really nice vineyard, and I would want to work on a vineyard.
Okay.
You know, I
Beautiful.
would just do that. I would be a gig worker in France for a year. I'd be a gig worker in Spain for another. I would travel and work. I know that.
That's the
You
best
travel and
education.
work.
What
Travel and
Farzana
work,
said.
and I would learn the cuisines of the
Yeah,
world, and I would be in the food industry because it's the
Yeah,
most interesting industry there is.
I-
You meet
I-
all kinds of people, you can work hard, your creative juices can flow,
My hair
you
is
can do
standing
so
when you
much.
said that.
So I would advise everybody, travel, work, earn money, and you
Yeah.
can do, and you learn so many skills. You learn
Absolutely.
about yourself, your talents will come to the fore. You'll realize, can I pick out those grapes like that? I would learn how to make wine, I would learn how to make a great steak, I would eat in restaurants, I would take a backpack and travel. I'd still do that. Prahlad, you?
You're absolutely right.
Prahlad.
That is the kind of education that I
You're going to follow me?
no, that's the curriculum I set for my kids. The curriculum I set for my kids in the office, in
Yeah,
the
you're right.
school, is that in the classroom you have to be only 40% of the time. Outside the classroom, you're learning 60% of the time, and you have to learn in real places. And you have to travel.
No
outside
education
the
like the outdoor.
you have to travel all over the world to actually learn, and experience. Even if you're a filmmaker, you don't even have to be a foodie. Even as a filmmaker, traveling is the best experience you can have in the world. The different cultures, the stories.
So Dominic, tell all the young viewers.
So no,
So
If I
Dominic, tell
was
all
to-
your
I'm
young
going to extend
viewers
this
to get
slightly.
up
I-
and get out of the
if I
world.
was
I'm going to
20
extend this
today-
slightly. Prahlad, one sec. I want to extend it slightly
Okay, extend.
because it just struck me.
Okay.
Settling down. Should people actually settle down? And when I'm saying settle down, I'm not just talking about marriage and in the typical way. I'm saying should people settle down or should they always stay rolling and moving and dynamic?
Dominic, you have to ask that question.
I think
to
the
a
way the
Punjabi
world is
mother-in-law.
right now, the way the world is, the way
You have to
the
ask
way the
that
world is
question.
right now, you have no choice. You'll have to toe the line with the way the world is going, and the world is rolling on, moving on, going forward, going up, going sideways, going every which way. They're moving forward. So you'll have no choice. I mean, you'll be a unicorn or some sort of a what is that, snowman or something, if you will stick on to this old ways of working. You have no choice. And I think the mindset of the young is such that you automatically give into that. But my one advice will be, please get off Instagram. Please don't just let social media govern you to that extent. Use the online purposes to get a job. Use it in a proper manner, but not to see if somebody else has got a better pair of trousers than you, or somebody else is holidaying somewhere, which is bogus. They're not really holidaying. Everybody's just putting pictures. And when they're going on holidays also, they're going only to click pictures and post them. I find that ridiculous. Do whatever you're doing in a very organic way. Do travel because you want to see that country, learn something because it's just so beautiful to learn something new, so be organic, be real, be true, be normal, be natural. That's my advice to people.
True, absolutely.
Prahlad, your
Dominic,
take.
Be
Rolling
Prahlad,
Stones.
be like Prahlad.
that advice you should about settling down, you have to give to a Punjabi mother-in-law or a mother. And say, beta settle ho gaya, settle. And what do they mean by settle? Is MNC ki naukri and one kudi and many children. Okay, then his house is settled.
I know.
He's through. And now I've got 3 sons. One is 30, one is 25, one is 26, one is 23 or 24. And none of them want to get married. None of them want to own a house. None of them want to own a car. They want all the money that they earn, they want to travel with it and they want to learn more. So I think that's the best education anybody can give you. So in my curriculum, in my college, I'm advising parents that they should take a year off and travel. And we'll facilitate them. And if they can do that,
And Dominic, that is
that is the
that
best
is
grounding
what-
they can get.
Absolutely. And that is how it'll go. Just as the concept of work has changed. Who would have thought 10 years ago that I could work from home? I could be my own boss. I could work weekends only nights, only days. I could work 3 months and 3 months travel. So since that concept has changed, the concept of settling down has also changed. Like Prahlad said, young people today are not looking at marriage as an end all. They're looking at togetherness and love and trying to find the right partners. If you ask me, most young people I know, and even in my family, they're frightened, literally frightened to get married,
Oh, makes me same
and
with
they're
me.
not the
Even I'm
kind who are
frightened to
going
get.
out and dating and all that. They're just frightened. Andrea is listening.
She's on the line. In fact, she's in the next room. Anyway, so
You
thank you,
wouldn't have said
Prahlad,
it
and
otherwise.
yeah, thank you, Prahlad and Farzana. Honestly speaking, I've laughed most on this show. This is the 5th episode, and I've laughed most on the show. Fantastic to have you all. There's a whole Shirish Bokle, a friend of mine, and also a vice principal of a college, has got his students online on Facebook, and he's messaged. Amazing insights shared by the eminent speakers. My final year students are also watching this webinar. Such a delight. Anyway, so that's the general take, and I'm not really sure about everybody enjoying it, but like I said, I've definitely enjoyed being on the show with you guys.
Thank you.
What I really loved, and is that you guys have established yourselves. You all are, there up there, and you all have been telling us some things that we've been doing wrong. Probably is not being authentic all the time, and this is what my takeaway is, and I'm going to be telling other youngsters like me, 18-year-olds, Prahlad, to be authentic and to stay authentic like the two of you. God bless you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Thank
having
you.
you on our show.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Prahlad.
Bye,
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 Farzana.
Dominic. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.